Hey guys, welcome to another video with MarishasCoutureCakes. I'm Marisha. It's so nice to meet you. I'm going to show you guys how to make buttercream roses properly and the difference between homemade frosting and store-bought. I have a rose nail. This is used because, as you can see, it looks like a big nail. It's got these little grids which you put between your fingers and you can spin this nail easily, and it allows you to pipe a mean rose on this thing. I'm using tip number 127. It looks like this. This is a common rose making tip. There are others bigger and smaller, so this is the one that I'll be using today. Now, this frosting is not homemade. I usually in all of my other videos use homemade when I'm preparing actual cakes, but today I want to show you guys how, if you haven't tried already, buttercream roses come out when you use store brand frosting. This is creamy white vanilla frosting, artificial and natural flavors. All I taste is artificial flavors. It all starts with the frosting. You want a nice stiff frosting. You do not want your frosting to be too creamy or too thin or too bloppy, because your buttercream roses might hold up a little bit, but they're not going to hold up like they should. To me, it's about them looking realistic, and they can't look realistic if they're slanted on one side and falling down the cake. To make a buttercream rose, like anything else, you start off with a base. And you make that base. Goodness gracious. It's already giving me problems, and I haven't even started the petals yet. The thin side is what's going to create your petal and what's going to make it look very, very lifelike. And it also creates that elegance and that flair that you may see in a lot of roses. This is the 3-5-7 method, and it's very simple. You do 3 petals, then 5 petals, then 7 petals. That's supposed to be what looks natural, but you can also go freehand. Here's my first petal. 1, 2, 3. So the way that I pipe, I like to kind of hold my tip outward a little bit, and that's what creates that little flare right there. Now the next round will be 5 petals. You want to overlap your last petal and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and if you notice, I'm going in like a rainbow motion. I'm just going around the whole thing like this, and that's why having a rose now makes it so easy, because if you can get this motion going, you've got it. It looks a lot harder than it actually is. You would go, typically the next round would be 7, but like I said, I have a small nail, and I'm also using store-bought frosting. Bloop bloop. Whenever you buy a store-bought cake, you'll notice that the frosting that covers the whole cake is completely different than the frosting that the roses are made out of. The roses are usually thicker and they taste more like confectioner's sugar. I do see a lot of people use this store-bought frosting and decorate their cake with it, and then go ahead and do flowers and do piping stuff with it, and it just never holds up. It looks like the whole cake has been sitting out in the sun for the past 45 and it's about to be all over the pavement. I actually didn't realize this until I tried to use store-bought frosting. So what you would really want to do is go ahead and make a homemade frosting and just have that in the freezer, play around with it a little bit. Or I'm going to test this for you guys. I had about a half cup of confectioner's sugar, and I put a quarter cup of, or it looked like about a quarter cup of frosting in here. And I'm going to try to stiffen this up to make it good for roses, so that if you do feel really uncomfortable or just don't have the time to make your frosting homemade, at least you have something, as a backup plan. And I totally understand, like, buying this for $1 or so in a jar compared to having to let some butter sit out and, measure out proportions and pull out the blender. It's just a lot more convenient, especially when you're in a rush. So much stiffer. And just from doing this, every little peak is standing up and firm, and this is what is going to be a winner. So if you do have to use a store-bought frosting, just try adding some confectioner's sugar. And now this is what buttercream roses will look like with a nice thick buttercream. So again, piping out my mount. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can already see Nothing is drooping down, nothing is falling over. It's a perfect consistency. And then you can even go out a little bit more, flare out, put your tip facing you. And now I can even make those 7 petals on the last round that I couldn't make before. See, and that's how a buttercream rose is supposed to look. You could take this off with a pair of scissors. You would just kind of snip it like this. Can you see what I'm doing? Just kind of grasp it like that, and it would go right onto your cake, just like this. Alright. Okay. There it is. Rose number 2, it's so much easier to do. And if you were making roses ahead of time for a cake, you would put a piece of parchment paper on your rose nail, make it stick with a little bit of your buttercream, go ahead and pipe your rose on there, pop these in the fridge, they'll get nice and firm, and when you're ready to make your cake, you can just pull them off of there and stick them on. So it's very, very simple. To make rosettes, you use the same tip, except you start up here, squeeze, go down, go to the right, go to the left, go to the center, and pull down. Of course, you would add a stem to the bottom with a tip. Just, you know, put some green buttercream, put some green buttercream in there, and that would be your stem. Okay, so going down to the right, to the left, and down to the center again. And with the smaller tip, you can make these really, really small. This is a larger rose tip or larger petal tip, so that's why this one is pretty big. It doesn't look complete now, but I'm telling you guys, with that stem, it looks great. Alright guys, I hope this video helped some of you guys out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will always answer. You can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/MarishasCoutureCakes. You can follow me on Twitter at MarishasCakes, Pinterest at pinterest.com/MarishasCoutureCakes. You can follow me to the moon if you want to. You guys can totally stay tuned to all the fun stuff that I have to talk about. So just follow me, let's be friends, and let's do this thing together. Let me know if you guys have any requests. That's what I'm here for. And I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to like it. Because, you know, you got to spread the love. Don't dislike it and spread the hate. I mean, unless you really just didn't like it. But, you know, hey. If you like this video, I'll totally give you a rose.